Hello, I hope you're all doing well. In this video I want to give you an overview of the different Imperial meals and help you decide on one to pick. We're gonna be going over what I consider the big three meals: Balenos, Valencia and Odalita, and there's a ton of other meals that you can consider, so we're gonna take a brief look at them as well. So let's get started. We're gonna be looking at these meals over here on BDO, where we get a nice breakdown of all of the different components and materials. To get here, you want to go into the search bar, type in Gukbaps, and then in the top right, select the meal that you're gonna be cooking for the box. We're gonna be starting off with the Balenos meal, one of the staples for Imperials. Now, when deciding on an Imperial meal, there are three things I would look out for: and the profit, the experience, and the materials, so how easy they are to come by. So in terms of profit, keep in mind that the profit will always fluctuate based on market prices. So I'd ask you to check the profit yourself. You can do that over here on the bottom of the page. Then for the experience, Balenos meals have 1.6k EXP. That is pretty standard. There are some meals with lower but also higher experience. And now for the materials. There's a ton of different materials, so let's break them down. We've got our red meat, so that's any of wolf, fox, deer, lamb meat and so on. Then we've got processing products like flour, dough and cheese, and we've got three farming crops: the onion, pepper and hot pepper, as well as a few other materials like eggs, milk and some node items including dried fish. Now, without going into detail on all of these materials, I would say the one you should look out for is the meat. If you take a look at the cost here, you can see that the meat makes up the bulk of the cost, so I consider this like the main ingredient of the meal. There are two ways to get meat: hunting and gathering. Between hunting and gathering, I definitely recommend getting into hunting. It's way stronger for getting meat than gathering, especially with the sniper hunting that was introduced with the Land of Morning Light. And bottom line for the Balenos meal, I would say this is a pretty standard meal. It's one of the more beginner-friendly meals, at least in comparison to the others. And that's the reason why it's really one of the most popular meals people cook for their Imperials. But there are many other meals that you could cook. For example, the Valencia Meal. This is another really popular meal for Imperials. That's because 1, it has 2.4k experience. That's the highest experience you can get in cooking. And 2, it has some of the highest profit when it comes to the Imperial meals. Now, the biggest difference to the Balenos meal is in the main material, the meat. So here you've got only a tiny bit of red meat, and the main component are the exotic meats, so lion, snake and scorpion meat. To get these meats, you would want to look into gathering in two spots. One is the Chira ruins, where you can gather snake and scorpion meat together. And for the lion meat, you have to head all the way into the desert here at Ancado Coast, where the lion rotations are. Now, I will say lion is probably one of the more involved gathering types, because these lions are quite spread out and you have to travel between the packs. So before you decide on doing Valencia meals, I would definitely look up how to gather lions and if this is something you can see yourself doing. In addition, you could also get lion meat via hunting. This is one of the more advanced hunting rotations, so either way, getting this lion meat is gonna be a little bit more involved than other types of meat. Valencia meal is actually the meal I'm doing for Imperials, and I was never big into lion gathering. And what I do is skip the lion gathering by buying the finished hamburgs off the market. Now keep in mind that this is gonna cut into your profit margin, so you want to very carefully calculate the profit before doing this. The other ingredients are quite standard. You've got your processing products, one farming crop and a bunch of node materials, so there's really nothing too special here. So taking this all together, for the Valencia meal we've got amazing EXP, one of the best profits of the Imperial meals, but you will need to go out and gather for these exotic meats. Moving on to the next one, the Odalita meal. This one also has 2.4k experience. The main material here is gonna be red meat, similar to Balenos meals, but it also takes a specific kind of blood. For example, you can use wolf or rhino blood. So this goes really well together with specific hunting rotations. For example, when you're hunting wolves, you will get both the wolf meat as well as wolf blood that you can use here. And it doesn't work as well with other hunting rotations like pigs or deer, where the type of blood just doesn't match. Now this meal used to have a huge barrier to entry, that is the bracken, which is quite annoying to gather, but with the Land of the Morning Light we've got 3 more bracken nodes, so at this point it's basically a node item, and you can see here it went from being perma-sold out to sitting on the market for really cheap. Now there's one caveat with this meal that you should know about. Some of the sub-recipes are extremely heavy, so this meal is way less AFK friendly than some of the other meals. Now I quickly want to talk about the Gukbaps, the meals that got added with the Land of Morning Light. There are 3 ones, the Biot County, Moodle and Dalbiol Gukbap. Out of those, the one I would look at is the Biot County Gukbap. And PA designed these Gukbaps in a really interesting way. We only need vendor materials, then 3 node materials, rice, radish and napa cabbage, as well as red meat. So super simple as you can see. But on the flip side, you only get a single meal per craft. For other meals you get somewhere around 2.5 per craft. And they also don't have a rare proc and quite low EXP at 1k per craft. But there's actually an upside to this. The recipe is not affected by mastery. So this could be a good meal to cook if you have very low cooking mastery. Now the one problem I see with this meal is that for the 3 node materials you only have 1 node each in the game, and they're not enough to provide the materials for daily production of this recipe. And while you can get these materials from gathering or farming, that is an absurd time sink, at least compared to the work you have to put into the other meals. So we've got ourselves a meal that is not mastery dependent and quite simple to cook, but on the other hand you're extremely limited in how much you can cook based on how much of the node materials you can get. So this meal is not something I can recommend outright, and you're gonna have to look into it yourself and see if you are able to provide the materials. And for all of the other meals that I didn't mention, I'll pin a comment under this video where I quickly give my thoughts on them. So in conclusion, which meal should you decide on? There are a ton of different factors that you consider here, like the profit, experience, materials, and in my eyes it really comes down to one big decision you want to make. Are you team hunting or team gathering? If you like gathering, you can go with the Valencia meals, and for hunting we got 2 big options, the Balenos and Valencia Meal. I would say Balenos Meal is probably a little bit more beginner friendly and more convenient to cook, and Valencia Meal first of all goes very well together with specific types of hunting like wolf and rhino hunting, and on top of that it's higher EXP while being slightly less convenient to cook. And I will say, as long as you're sticking with the 3 big meals, you really can't go wrong. They're all decently profitable and they're really manageable in terms of the time and effort you have to invest into getting the materials. In any case, I hope this video was helpful and I'll see you in a future video. Take care.